Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be doing some gameplay from the newly released expansion for the game The Long Road from Flying Pig Games, designed by Mark H. Walker. And this is called Broken Logic, and it is a supernatural kind of spin on World War III in 1985 in West Germany. And it's very similar in terms of the rules. If you exclude the supernatural elements, it's pretty similar to Platoon Commander. But yeah, there's a lot of supernatural elements. So I know this doesn't appeal to everybody, but it is a solid war game. And I'm going to play through Scenario 1. We'll see how far we get, but we'll take a look here because this one features all of the new additions. Well, not all the new additions. There's two different groups of new enemy forces, both with some supernatural elements on the Warsaw Pact side, on the Soviet side. And then there is the addition of the British forces on the NATO side. The base game has U.S. forces and Soviet forces. The Fatherland expansion adds some German forces. But this one, as I said, is Broken Logic, just came out. We're going to play Scenario 1, which is called Into the Breach. Now, all of the scenarios in here have kind of a story lead-in. You can play through them in sequence and get kind of a campaign type of thing. I mean, not excuse me, not really a campaign, but more of a sequential thing story-wise. So in this scenario, we have the British on one side, and they are elements of the 1st Armored Division. And they run into a nightmarish encounter that defies reason, according to the scenario description. I won't read it all because it's not that it's overly lengthy. It's not, but typically I think I've gotten comments that you guys don't prefer me to be reading a lot of stuff. So that's fine. So they are facing the Death Battalion. So these are kind of zombies and some champions that have kind of supernatural powers. And you can see this reborn here. This is kind of the zombie type unit. So these are former Soviet soldiers reanimated, essentially. And you can see the IV there, the 4, Roman numeral 4. On the other side, you have 3. And then they have a secondary counter with 2 and 1. So scenario setup gives the Warsaw Pact, the Soviet side, 9 of them, as well as a plague mortar, which is up here, and 2 champions, the Terra Umbra, and we'll get into what all they can do and everything as we play, and then Zoranov as well, who's over here. Now, speaking of them, they come with a card here. It looks like this, right? So this is for the Terra Umbra, as you can see. So you get an idea of what they are. You get a little description and their abilities. Tough and Eye of Chaos. And then down at the bottom, you have the health area. She starts with 6. And then each time she takes a hit, you use this black block, or black cube rather, to kind of count down. When you get to 3, you flip the counter to the other side, and then you get all the way down to 0, and the unit is basically eliminated. So each of the 3 champions in this have that. The Soviet side has 2 that I already mentioned. The British side has the Phantom Sniper, and we'll talk about him as we get into it as well. He's an interesting character. So without further ado, let's get into the specifics of this specific scenario. So we have Regiment X, which is this group here, the Soviet group. This is elements of the Death Battalion, and they set up in or adjacent to any city or forest hex. This is map B, which is from the base game. And you've got Gross Metzendorf here in the middle, with Oberhaus and Niederhaus down here on the right side. And so I kind of put them out. I spread them out kind of in a way that I felt like would be relatively sensible, leaving like maybe a hex between most of them and spreading them out. And I put one of the champions up here in the north and another one over here, kind of in the southeastern corner. The British will be coming from this direction, and they will be moving onto the map as part of the first turn. And on the British side, we have the 7th Armored Brigade. So they are going to bring 5 FV-432 Trojans, 3 FV-107 Scimitars, 3 FV-101 Scorpions, 3 Challenger MBTs, main battle tanks, baby, 2 Ethereal Cannons, 4 infantry squads, 1 L-16 81mm mortar, Wraithbane Mortar Mark I. That is a specific weapon to use against supernatural forces. A Striker, Lieutenant Bomb, Sergeant Salt, who comes with a luck token, and we'll talk about that as well. Ghost Sniper, that I mentioned earlier, and Father Ryan. That is the basics here. Salt gets a luck token, as I mentioned. The 7th Armored Brigade player may play any action card as a double time card, which we'll get into that as well. Then you have Loiter, which is a new rule that was just added. It allows airstrikes to loiter, and we'll talk about specifics as it comes up. The river here is deep and only crossable at the bridge and ford. So the bridge is here. And I'm not sure if there is a ford. I don't see one. But we do see the bridge right there. Yeah, I don't see a ford. Anyway, not a big deal. There is a ford. It's right here at the K10 J11 hex side. So K10 J11 is right here. So there's a ford right here on this hex side. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. For our morale, Regiment X has a morale of 3. The 7th Armored has a morale of 4. Regiment X has initiative on turn 1. I do have the Soviet side up there on the turn record track. And it's a 9-turn scenario. In terms of action cards, Regiment X starts with 1 and gets 1 each turn, starting on turn 2. And the 7th Armored begins with 2 and receives 2 per even numbered turn. So when we get to turn 2, they'll draw 2. When we get to turn 4, they'll draw 2 more. The odd turns, they do not get any. Okay, so we are ready to get underway. Now, this game does come with a nice sequence of play here on a card all its own. It also has the unit abilities here as well. When you go to turn start, right, initiative, all that stuff, action cards, all this is done. When we get the rally phase, we don't need to do anything with that because, well, there's nobody to rally. We're going to skip the fire phase as well because only one side is out on the map. So we're going to go to the movement phase, okay? Important broken logic timings inside movement. Raging spirits, we don't have any of those. Okay, twisted woods, we don't have those either. Well, we might, but we don't right now. Heroes at the trot, leg units that spend the whole phase with the same hero may move at the hero's movement factor for this phase. Necro Rush, we'll talk about that. That's a special ability of some of the units. So we will begin our movement phase here. Okay, so I have tightened up here. Now, in terms of movement, I'm not really sure whether we should even move anybody because we're kind of in decent spots, I would say, and we may be better off just waiting for the British to come on map. I did zoom in a little bit here so you can see the units a little bit better in their layout. This covers everybody currently on the map. Now the entry hex for the British, the entry hexes are along this edge, which is just out of shot. So you will see them as they arrive, but they're currently out of shot. Let's look at the action cards here. So this is what they have, their own card here for the Regiment X. And this is what what they look like. This one is a rally card, but it's called Revivify, and it says, "We will stand again, or reborn, gain 1 step." Pretty powerful card. Because the bulk of their forces in this particular scenario are, of course, reborn. So given that the Regiment X has the initiative, they get to determine who gets to move first in the movement phase. And the way this game works, if you're not familiar with it, in the fire phase, which comes after the movement phase, activations are alternating. So the Regiment X can go first because they have initiative in the fire phase, and they'll be the first ones able to fire. And the British will, they'll alternate 1 unit at a time. But in the movement phase, because they have initiative, they can say, let's have the British move first. And then you move all the side moves all of its units in the movement phase. So unlike fire phase where it's alternating, it's one side moves everybody, then the other side moves everybody. Then you go to the fire phase where you alternate. Okay, so we're going to start, and we have this unit here, Striker, which has a team with it, and they basically are an anti-tank unit, but these guys can basically sight for them. It's a recon unit. So we're going to move these in first. Now, along the edge of the board, which is off shot, this road right here, this hex is the one that's adjacent to S4. That's S5. And, or S5 is here. That's R5, sorry. S4 is right to the right of that and slightly up, it being a hex map, of course. So we're going to start on S4, which is right there. And this movement factor, which is the number in the bottom, on the bottom in the middle, is a 6. These guys are passengers. So they're going to move here. That's clear, and it's on a road. So our terrain effects chart would indicate that road 1, okay, 1 regardless of any other terrain in the hex. Now, there is a reborn up here, right? So we could do, we're going to do 1 to move here. That might be 2. Maybe I'll put them here. That would be 3, which is half their movement. And when you do that, you can put them into Overwatch. I'm not sure that I will put them into Overwatch. So let's see, what do we want to do? Maybe we'll just leave them there for now. Okay, so as I said, we're going to move all of our units, and I'll probably just do it off map. And then when off camera, I should say, not off map, off camera. That way, it'll be a little faster, and I'll come back and I'll show you where all the units ended up. Now, before I do that, I wanted to mention one more thing. Here we have the Trojan, which is a carrier. You can see the circled movement factor indicates it can carry troops. I have Sergeant Salt on there with his luck token and an infantry platoon. Now, I misspoke earlier when I said squad. These are all platoons. As I said, it is the same basic combat, same basic game system with the supernatural stuff added on to Platoon Commander. So before I go and just move everybody, I wanted to mention that all of these Trojans will be carrying infantry onto the battlefield. Okay, so I have not put the moved markers on these guys, but I did want to show where they all are. As you can see, that's a sizable contingent of British Army here. So they're kind of spread out a little bit. I've got a tank here with Lieutenant Baum. He is the tank leader that we have. There's also a Challenger here and one in the middle. So as I said, we were kind of coming in from this corner up in this area. R1 is here, and then S1, S2, S3, S4. Those are the entry hexes. So we're kind of moving in towards the main group of enemy here. And we got this reborn up here. And I didn't approach it too closely. They have a movement factor of 1. So I'm going to kind of let them decide where they want to try and attack us, I guess. Because we're going to now, of course, go over to the movement for the excuse me, for the Regiment X. So let me do that. And as I said, I'm not going to, I haven't put the moved markers down yet, but I will. I just realized I didn't show you the cards that the British have here. So these are your standard long road cards from the base game. We use the NATO side, not the red side, the Soviet side. So you can see here that I have an op fire, which allows me that any undisrupted unit may conduct opportunity fire. So that's kind of useful. And then the artillery barrage. So when we get to the fire phase, and I just realized I did it backwards. Did it backwards. Why did I do it backwards? Never mind. I didn't do it backwards. We did movement, movement first. All right. So we have these two cards. I guess I could have done an artillery barrage in the fire phase, but I didn't. I forgot. Although it does say movement as well, so I could just do it now since I'm still in the movement phase. So let's do that. We're going to fire at these guys with this. So 8 firepower attack, so that we'll get a quick refresher, I guess, on how artillery fire works from the base game. So I think we can see this guy, even though he's in the town. This is cultivated, which does not block line of sight. And I think this is the same elevation as the hill that these guys came up. So the Phantom Sniper, for example, should be able to see him, as should the Challenger tanks as well. So that we should be able to put it here. Now, ideally, I would want to put it actually, well, like I said, nobody's really in an air like this here. They're on a slope as well. We're far enough back actually that we might be able to see these guys, because you can hit 2 hexes with it, because you hit a target and then around it, assuming you're on target with your fire. Well, never mind this. This is rolling terrain. 2 hexes of that, it's blocking, so they can't see them after all. Plus they're back from the hill, so we're going to I guess go with they could see these guys. Maybe we'll do it this one. We'll hit these guys right here. So we're going to hit this hex with our 8 firepower artillery attack. Okay, so the first thing we do is roll to see if we are on target. So one of the dice has a little US circle on it. I'm looking for one that might have the British. That's the Soviets. A bunch of different ones here. This is pretty cool, actually. That one's got a hammer on it. That's Germany. This is kind of cool. Maybe I'll just use this blue one. So here, put that there. That is an 8, which means we missed. So we have a drift. Oh, we would subtract 1, but it's still a miss. Focus marker. No, we don't have. I didn't put the focus on anybody. You have a focus marker, which is this guy right here, which allows you to re-roll. But if you hold on to it, you can eventually double it and get 2. So that's what I was doing there. So if we miss, it scatters 1 hex, maintaining the originally prescribed pattern, which I did not say what it was. So we were going to hit this hex and this one, because I did not want to hit my own men. So we scattered in the direction this way, 1 hex. So it's going to be, this is the center hex, and it's going to hit the hexes around that. So we still can hit him. Resolve each hex attacked. Oh wait, no, that's wrong, because if we yeah, I guess this won't matter, because if I was attacking here and here, Should have said here and here, but I didn't say anything. But I'm trying not to be a cheater either. Um, if it was here and here, and we scattered this direction, then it will become here and here, which obviously there's nothing there. So this is just it's a waste. I'm gonna discard the card because we can't really do much with it now, and that is the end of that. So that is the end of the movement phase. I still do have my op fire, so if they do move somebody, I can attack them. Okay, so I think I'm going to have this guy assault. Now down here we have a Trojan with Father Ryan and infantry in it. So he is going to move one, and we'll mark him moved. And then he can assault in the assault phase. And we might do the same with these guys. These are two vehicles, though, and that the odds there would not be to their benefit. So I think we'll hold off on that. Now down here we have a Scorpion and a Scimitar as well, the total power of 8. But these guys are crazy good, so they're going to move up as well, and we'll put a moved on them. And I think that's all we'll move here for the Soviet side. And we're going to be using our close assault table here to take care of the combat. So we do have here the Reborn has, look at the bottom right, that's 6. That is their assault ability. And then on this side, the Trojan itself has only a 2. But it's carrying infantry, which, if I remember correctly, gets halved. I think gets halved. Well, it says 2. So we'll give them 2, which makes a 4. Now, I don't know if Father Ryan would also add to that. I'm going to say no for now. We'll just go with that. So 6-4 is still going to be 1-1. So you roll in the 1-1 column right here. Okay. So we will do that. Okay, we're going to put this here. And I'm going to roll. I don't know. I don't even know if this is the American die. I guess it doesn't really matter. I just think it's funny. To do it, let's roll this one. We'll use this guy. It's an 8. All right. So if we look at the 8 here on 8, 1-1 is 6/2. So the number before the number to the left is the possible hits on the attacker, and the number on the right is the defender. So that's 6 hits on the attacker and 2 on the defender. But a hit isn't a hit until you roll to see it, till you roll against the morale to see if they dodge the hit. So the morale of all of the Regiment X units is, I believe, 3, if I remember correctly, and or is it 2? I think it's 3. Let's see. Here it is 3. Yeah, 3, and the British is 4. So we're going to roll 6 dice. They need a 3 or less to avoid a hit. We have 1. This is a 0. That's a 0. That's a 0. So, and that's below. So if I remember correctly, it starts at 0. Yes, 0 is 0. So they took 2 hits. Okay, so in the case of a Reborn, 2 hits, you would flip them first, and then they would also get reduced to the Reborn 2. So that's this, and you can see that their statistics have dropped. So they went from a 4-6 to a 2-2. Okay, so they're going to sit there for the moment. And we'll put that on there again. Actually, they'll be done, fired. But now we got to do these guys whose morale is a 4, but they only have to roll 2 dice. So we'll roll the green and the blue, I guess. Or actually, green and white. The white looks like it has the rondelle on it. 7 and 5. So they also take 2 hits. Now, because they have multiple units, I guess, they get disrupted. Now, the reborn don't get disrupted. First hit would typically typically disrupt. Okay, so that's going to disrupt and reduce all 3 of these guys. So we got a reduced infantry, Father Ryan, and the Trojan all get reduced, and they get disrupted. And they remain moved. So put that back on there as well. All right, now let's resolve this one. So we have here a ridiculous assault rating of 16 plus 6 is 22. Attacking 4 and 4 is 8. So 22 to 8 is actually just shy of 3 to 1. So it's going to be a 2 to 1. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be in the 2 to 1 column here. And we're going to roll 1 die. And it's a 6. And a 6 in the 2 to 1 is 4, 4. Okay, so 4 for each. So let's resolve the allies first. So we'll use these 4. Now again, the morale's a 4, so we want to roll low. And we missed 1 hit, so 3 hits. And since we have 2 units here and they're not the same, we will take a disruption and reduce on this one and a disruption on the scimitar as well. Put this disrupted on here. That's 3 hits. And now let's roll for the enemy. Same thing, but their morale is a 3. And they eliminate 2 hits, so they still take 2 hits. So they will get reduced by 1 because they don't disrupt, and he gets disrupted. And that's the end of that. And that is the end of the assault phase. So we would go to the housekeeping phase. We don't have any markers or anything to remove except the markers. And that is it. And then we're going to go back and start turn 2 here. So that's going to be next. So I'm going to remove this, and then we'll go back and we'll start turn 2 here and see how things go. Okay, we are on to turn number 2. So the first thing we're going to do is roll for initiative. Both sides roll 1d10. So I've got them right here. I'm just going to roll them on the board for this one. Okay, the Soviets get a 3. The Brits get a 2 rather, and the Brits get a 3. So they get the initiative this turn. They get to go first. And since we're going to start with the fire phase, well, actually, we have the rally phase first, and I also have to draw cards. So this being an even turn, we draw 2 for the British. And they get an op fire and refugees, which I still assume still is something we can do in this game. That's from the base game, of course. And then op fire undisrupted unit may conduct opportunity fire marker status. Does not change. So I now have 2 of those. Now the other thing that I did not mention is that they, if you remember from the special scenario rules, the 7th Armor Brigade player may play any action card as a double time card. So we may see that just because it would be an interesting thing to show. Now the Regiment X gets Unearthly Energy, which is a move card. And it says, we will speed your death. All reborn gain 1 MP for this turn. So that's one that they may want to use. The other one they have is Revivify, which gives all Reborn an extra step back. Now they've only had one that have lost any steps, and it's right there. So we have these disrupted units as well that we need to try to rally. And the rally phase comes before the fire phase, as you would probably expect. So you rally disrupted units. Only one disrupted marker may be removed from a unit per rally, because in the expansion here, there's actually the possibility of getting double disrupted. So we know the British. Now we have a disruption on both sides. We'll let the Brits go first since they won initiative. So they've got a bunch of disruptions here. So we have 3 here. Now, Father Ryan is in the hex with these guys as well, with the Trojan and an infantry platoon. The morale, of course, for the 7th Armored is a 4. I'm actually going to roll 3 times for this stack, and we'll just work top to bottom. So the first would be the vehicle. They get a 1, so they're no longer disrupted. I'll just pull them out for that. Now Father Ryan, 8, still disrupted, and finally the infantry got a 5, so they are still disrupted. So these are all disrupted, but the Trojan is not. Now we'll try this one over here. We've got a Scorpion and a Scimitar. Scorpion gets a 9, Scimitar gets a 0. So the Scimitar is no longer disrupted. Now we have to do the stack for these guys. So we've got 2 disrupted here. This was the British die, and I forgot to use it. So I'm just going to use this red one here for them. It's got a little hammer on it. We'll do Zoranov first. He got a 7, that's still disrupted. And the Reborn got a 7 as well, also still disrupted. So their disruption remains. That may be something we can take advantage of. Okay, so now we move to the fire phase. What I did not mention, and I should do this actually, is we have our focus here and our aid marker as well, which allow rerolls of things, right? So we should probably use them since we have them. So I am going to put this focus with Lieutenant Baum and the Challenger here. And I'm going to put the aid marker with this stack here. So that next turn we can use it to maybe help help these guys become undisrupted. Okay, so fire phase. So I do not have any barrages I can use. No airstrikes, nothing like that. Nothing fun. So you have indirect fire. We don't have that because we don't have the, like I just said, we don't have aircraft or artillery. So then we have direct fire. So we can use our abilities and weapons if we have them. And we can play eligible action cards as well. Both of my action cards for op fire, those are movement phase, so we can't use them right now. We could do the refugees, but I kind of don't even know if that's worthwhile in this particular scenario or not. So I think what we'll do instead is we will assault this Reborn here with these guys right here. So they have an 8. They have a 2. That is 4-1. They do have to go up slope. So let me get my terrain effects chart here. So for a hill, we get note 3, and they get, that gives them a 1 column shift on close assault. Well, actually, we're not doing close assault right now. We're doing fire attacks. So getting my sequence of play mixed up. Close assault comes after movement. It would still get a 1 column shift. We have a firepower of 8. It's green. So when we do fire, which we haven't done yet here, go by the band that goes with their HE factor, right? So it's green, and that tells you the range. So it's short range because it's only one, they're adjacent. Normal is out to 3, long is out to 6. Okay, so if you're at short range, you get a 1 column shift to the right. So that negates the shift to the left that they get for being uphill. And we just roll on our firepower here, which is an 8. So we're going to roll our die and see what we get. So I one thing to note here. So I was talking about the firepower is 8. That's the combination of these two. That's not how you do this. It's 4. They're both 4. So it doesn't really matter which one the lead is, but we'll say it's the scorpion because it's on top. So your scorpion will be in the 4 column, but because his partner here, the scimitar, will join in, they get a 2 column shift to the right, which puts them in the 8 column anyway. So it's not really, it's a difference without a distinction without a difference, right? That's not always the case, of course, but in this one instance, it is. Let me roll my white British die here. And we'll see what we get. We got a 4. So if we come here and we go to the 8 and the 4, that is 4 hits. Okay, now they will try to negate them, of course. They get to roll their 3 dice. So I'll just take 3 here. And we'll, no, 4. There's 4 hits. Sorry. They need lower than a 3. So they eliminate 2 hits. However, the other 2 hits are enough to flip this unit to its Raging Spirit side. So this looks like this, just so you can see what it looks like as opposed to what it was before. And they have special abilities and so on. They are spectral, as you may guess. They're basically ghosts. So I'm looking for them in here. We can talk about exactly what they are. Raging Spirits, okay. As the first action of Regiment X's movement phase, Raging Spirits move toward the closest enemy, playing 1 MP per hex entered and ignoring zones of control. And then they attack. Upon entering or finding itself in an enemy hex, it attacks 1 unit in the hex randomly selected. Target unit takes a morale check. If it fails, it disrupts. Previously disrupted units gain a second disruption. That's what I meant. And you remove the Raging Spirit after the attack. Only ethereal weapons may target Raging Spirits. 1 hit destroys a Raging Spirit. So we do have ethereal cannons. They're over here. That's not going to really do us much good. Now the good news is until their movement phase, they can't really do anything. But they are not destroyed, and they cannot be destroyed except by ethereal weapons. So that would be Father Ryan, who's currently disrupted. He has the ability to take them out. And I think the Phantom Sniper might be able to as well. Yeah, he has a Ghostbuster ability, which I think is the ability to attack ethereals. Ghostbuster. Yes, ethereal beings. Range is unlimited. Father Ryan only targets adjacent. So you may wonder if Father Ryan can attack while he's disrupted. The answer to that is no. So he cannot fire at them. Okay, we do need to mark these guys as being fired because they did execute an attack. So now you flip it because in the fire phase you alternate. So now the enemy here, our Regiment X, gets to activate. Let's see what we want to do here. Now these guys could in theory attack that, I believe. They have green, firepower of 4, and they should have line of sight out of the town hex. It's clear terrain over to here, so they will probably take that shot, right? Why not? So at a range greater than 1, which that is, they're 2 hexes away, they go to normal range on the green, normal range, up to 3 hexes. So they don't get a shift for that. But we also don't have any shifts on the defensive side. So it's just going to be, and they're by themselves, so they have no assisting or anything. So this is going to be a simple roll on the 4 column here. And they got a 9. which is pretty high and usually doesn't do much for you. And in this case, it does not. NE, of course, means no effect. So we'll drop a fired marker on them as well. And we'll go back to the Brits. The Trojan can't really do much, and I'm not going to move him right now. Now, here we have a scimitar, which has a firepower of 6. Oh, I should have made that the lead unit. I thought I had 4 and 4. Oh, it's 6 and 6 anyway. So their firepower is actually a 10 on that attack. And would that have changed? They would have gotten 5 hits instead of 4, so not a big deal. Anyway, it didn't change anything, right? Because those guys don't die. They become raging spirits. So we're going to have our scimitar attack these guys since they're disrupted. And we can't target Zoranov since he's with a reborn. So we have to attack the reborn. And their firepower is a 6. We are adjacent. They are in heavy woods. It says adjacent to 3 wood hexes, which I guess they are. Deep forest. Deep forest, a forest hex adjacent to at least 3 other forest hexes. Like that's open, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's adjacent to 5 other hexes. So I'm going to call that deep forest. In deep forest, you get a fire combat shift of 2. Now they are green firepower and adjacent, so that would be a shift back 1, which puts us in the 4 column again. And we will roll and see what we get. That's a 9. We already know that's no effect. So I'm going to drop a fired marker on here. And back to the Regiment X. Now they have the pulse mortar up here. They're sitting on a hill. So the pulse mortar is basically a regular mortar, but it's got some special abilities that I will read to you here as soon as I find it. Pulse mortar, where is it? Or plague mortar. Sorry, I was calling it a pulse mortar. The Death Battalion's plague mortar is a unique weapon that functions like other mortars, yet with a significant difference. So you roll to hit just like you would with a regular mortar, but every friend or foe in the hex receives a necrotic plague marker. Additionally, mark the hex with a blast marker. The unit moving through a hex marked with a necrotic plague marker gets a necrotic plague marker. Do not place necrotic plague markers on reborn, raging spirits, and plague hounds. They are immune. Okay, so they've got pretty good visibility. Maybe they should try and drop a plague on something down here. We've got Sergeant Salt with the Trojan and infantry squad here. That sounds like a good target. But they have woods there. I think they can sight down here to see these guys, though. Or they might just have to try and hit these guys. Because we have a hill here as well. And some of these would be hidden. Like the Challenger, I think, is going to be hidden. Although it's on the slope too, so maybe not. But you do have this forest here. So this is a good chance to talk about line of sight and how that works. Okay, so I think based on where the Challenger is, which is directly down the line here, they are on cultivated. I don't think cultivated. No, it's not blocking. Forest, however, is blocking, but because it only passes down the edge there, I'm going to say that that's actually good. They could actually even target the Phantom Sniper, but they're going to go for this hex right here with Lieutenant Baum and his Challenger. So we're going to do a mortar strike, rather, which is pretty straightforward. So, okay, so we're targeting here. I'm going to roll 1 die. If it's a 0 to 5, I think, yes, it'll be on target. So that's a 3, so it's on target. Okay, so here's the interesting thing about this particular attack, and they didn't really. I mean, they didn't really have many options in terms of anybody else to attack here. The The Challenger obviously is an armored fighting vehicle, and it has armor, right? So they're going to hit it or attempt to hit it with firepower 8, but the armor factor on that tank is 10, and you get a -1 on the die roll. So we're going to roll here. And they're on the -2 column, and I'll show you that here in a second. They rolled a 3, which becomes a 2. So that's actually not a bad roll. It's not effective, but it's not a bad roll. So here's the -2 column. You need a 1 or a 0 to actually get a hit. 2, 3 is no effect. So because it's a 3, but it gets modified to a 2, but 2, 3 is still no effect. So it didn't change the outcome. So I think we still have to put a blast marker down, but we do not have to put a necrotic plague marker down, because you can assume that, I guess, Bohm, who is the commander of the tank, had his platoon buttoned up, so there's no damage there. So this is a blast marker. Now you can see it's got some effects on it, right? 2 left, and it affects line of sight and all that stuff. So that's going to go in here with them. These guys will get marked as fired. We'll shift back to the British. So I think what I'm going to do is something called a gun and run. We'll get this marker here. Now what this involves is we're going to put this on the bottom. Okay, so that's going to stay there. These guys are going to get marked gun and run. Now what it means is they can move up to, they're going to fire, okay? And yeah, so they're going to fire, and they'll get this marker on it. And then afterwards, during the movement phase, they'll be able to move up to half their movement factor, which is a 4. And that counter fell pretty far away. But they'll get to move basically 2 movement points, which I think cultivated, let me look at the terrain effects chart, cultivated is 1 for AFV, so they'd be able to move 1, 2, which gets me kind of where I would want to be anyway. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to fire, okay, and we're going to fire at, we're going to fire here. If they can shoot at us, we can shoot back at them. Now, this would be an HE fire, which is 10. Okay, now Lieutenant Bomb, and it's orange range, which is pretty long, out to 5 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's long range, so we're going to take a shift there. Normal to long, 2 shift to left, but 1 with advanced targeting, which they do have. So it's a 1 column shift to the left, gun and run, and line of sight into. Okay, so we're going to fire here. So they get, they're in a forest, which is not adjacent to 2 other forests. So that's just a regular forest. They get fire combat, 1 shift to the left. So we're going to have 2 shifts to the left. So that 10 is going to become a 6. And we're going to roll and see what we get. And we got a 3, which is a pretty decent roll. There's 6, 3, 4 hits. All right, so 4 hits for them. Again, their morale is 3. And they got a 7. Well, that was a 7. It rolled to a 6, a 4. That's 3 hits and 1 3. So 3 hits. They'll get disrupted, I think. Yeah, they get disrupted, and second hit would reduce, third hit would eliminate. Well, interestingly, they do have this plague marker on there, that skull and crossbones in the green shield. And according to the rules, they're supposed to take an unblockable hit at the start of the marker removal phase, which I did not do because I forgot about it. And so that would have, we would have been able to possibly remove it by rallying, since it would have just been a disruption. But the 3 hits are enough to kill it, so it is going to be dead. So that one goes off board to the dead pile, essentially. We can take the fired marker away. And they stay marked gun and run. Then once they move in the movement phase, we mark them fired, because the idea there, as is explained in the rules by Mark, is that you put fired so it indicates they cannot assault, because like these guys, because they fired, can't assault. I mean, you can't really assault raging spirits anyway, but if they hadn't basically killed that unit, they would have been able to assault if they hadn't fired, but they did. So that's why that is that way. Now the reborn get to go now, and the other thing we can do is called putting them in Overwatch. Now their movement ability is only a 1, so they don't have a lot. We do have the Adara of Umbra here, but I wanted to save her and use her ability. Actually, I think her ability can be used in the fire phase. Yes, so she has this ability right here, Eye of Chaos. During the fire phase, discard 2 action cards. So we do have 2 action cards, which counts as cards played to roll on the chaos table. And then you roll on the chaos table, and she receives a wound and is marked fired. So we're going to do that. So we've got these 2 cards. We're going to play them, just so we can show this, because I don't know that I'm going to play more than 1 turn. If I do do a second video, I might do something with the walkers, so you can see what they look like as well. So they're going to roll on the chaos table, which is right here on the back of the book. So we are going to roll 1 die. We got a 1. Lightning strike. The heaven split open. Target 1 enemy unit within line of sight. Now the lightning strike, I think, is in here. So lightning strike is actually listed on the abilities on Zoranov's card, and it says, attack any unit within 5 hexes in line of sight. 12 AP, 6 HEF, counts as an action. Mark the unit fired. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So she's gonna hit this area here. Now both of these have, I guess she's got to pick one. They're basically identical. 4, 6, 6, 6. She'll target the scimitar because it's a slightly more powerful unit. So its armor rating is a 2, and she's got a 12 AP on this attack. That's going to be in the 10 column. It's a 2 and a -1 on the die roll. So that's not great. I guess the range is not a factor. So I don't know that there's any shifts. We just roll in the 10 column. So let's roll in the 10 column here and see what we get. Oh, a 1. This is bad news. Okay, a 1 is 7 hits. Okay, 7 hits. Yeah, it says any unit, so it's not both. All right, so 7 hits. Let's see, we've got 2, 4, whoops, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, let's roll these guys and see what we get. We got hit, 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 and 1 not hit. So 6 hits, which, as you probably can gather, eliminate this platoon. They are dead. All right. She gets marked as fired. Now she's with something here. She's with some reborn, so I'm going to put them on top for now because she fired. And her health, which is on this card over here, you can see the edge of it. I'm moving this cube from 6 to 5. Okay, so every time she does that, they have to spend 2 cards, and it impacts her health. Okay, so next, I'm probably just going to move some people and put them in op fire, I think. So the way that works is you move half your movement allowance, and you are covered in, well, you get to be in opportunity fire, meaning you can fire during the movement phase. Now, all of these guys have movement of 1, so they can't do that because you can't move half your movement factor. I don't think there is any terrain that only costs a half. There is not. So the Reborn are staying put. The Raging Spirits, they have a movement factor of 5, but I don't think they just move. Um, I'm going to play them that they're going to stay put, and then during the movement phase, they're going to move. Yeah, because they don't actually fire. They just cause people to take morale checks. So I'm going to pause. I'll move all the British that I'm going to move, and then we'll come back and do our movement phase. On second thought, maybe we should do some gun and run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's uphill though, and over a crest line. I don't think that's possible. So I take it back. I'm just gonna put everybody on op fire. And I misspoke. They're actually Overwatch, not op fire. Overwatch. Okay, so I actually only ended up putting 2 in Overwatch. They're both challengers. So basically the tanks all did something, and the rest of them will do something when we get to the movement phase, which is going to happen right now. So we are going to move on to the movement phase. And here is the Raging Spirits will move first. Okay, so the Regiment X gets to go first because the British elected to go first in the fire phase. So the first thing they're going to do is attack. Now we'll roll a die and we'll say odd here, even here. So let's just roll 1 die. It's even. So they're going to attack this hex. Okay, they actually have an aid marker, but that's not really important at this point. So basically they go in here and they all have to take a morale check. Okay, so we're going to randomly select one of these. So we'll say the Trojan, Ryan, infantry. So there's 3. I'll re-roll any zeros, but otherwise 1, 2, 3 Trojan, 4, 5, 6 Ryan, 7, 8, 9. It's 3. So they're attacking the Trojan. All right. So the Trojan's going to take a morale check. The morale is 4, and they pass it. And then this one goes away after they do their attack, if I remember correctly. Raging Spirits. Let's see. Remove the Raging Spirit after the attack. Yes. Okay. So the Raging Spirit is gone. Now they can move the rest of their units. So we're going to send this Reborn here. This one will move up 1. This one's going to move up 1. This one will move 1. Actually, well, they can do the minimum move to go there. And this one will move here. Now, if you remember, there is a ford here that they can use to cross the river. This one will move here. And I think that's all of their units that can do something. So now we'll go to the British. So the first thing I'll do is I'll move my gun and run guys here. They get to go 2. So they're just going to go 1, 2. And we're going to replace this with a fired marker to indicate that they cannot do anything as far as an assault goes. Yeah, these guys probably should have fired, actually, now that I'm looking at it. So let me resolve that now. We're going to have that fire at these guys. So you have line of sight into the town as they move in. The firepower is its HE, which is 10. They're going to get terrain effects from being in cover with the town. Let's see, where is it on here? City, 3 or more hexes. Town, 1 or 2 hexes. Fire combat is a shift of 2. Actually, it's 1. No, it is 2 because they're a leg unit. Armored fighting vehicles would be a shift of 1. So the 10 is going to get shifted down to 8. And we will roll and see what happens here. That's a 3, and a 3 in the 8 column is 5 hits. So they're going to roll 5 dice to see what happens. Okay, hit, miss, miss, hit, hit. 3 hits. So this 4 becomes a 3 on the first hit, then a 2 on the second hit. They don't disrupt. and then it becomes a raging spirit. So I'm just going to put the raging spirit back out here. And that ends that. These guys go to fired now. And I'm just going to ignore that one. And so now we'll do the movement for the British here. All right, so these guys are not going to move because I want to keep them together. So I do want to move some of these other guys, though. So up here we have a Trojan that's carrying Sergeant Salt and his luck counter, as well as some infantry. So this is rolling terrain, which I think is still 1. Yes, it is 1 for movement. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And since this would cost us 2, we're just going to, actually, let's go. Yeah, we're going to unload. So I'm going to put them on top of the vehicle here. Getting all discombobulated, man. All right, Salt, then his luck counter. And they're sitting here. Okay, these guys are there. This guy is basically done. So we'll just put a moved marker on him. These guys can both move 6. And we're going to assault, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll put a moved on there. And they can assault in the assault phase. And then they're not moving. These guys, my striker team. Now this is an interesting one. I want them on the hill. So we're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5. Because with the vantage point up there, they'll be able to lay some targets maybe. They've got a nice 8 firepower. There are no armored vehicles here, so we don't have to worry about that. They're anti-tank guided missiles. All right. Oh, these guys get moved. And we got a Trojan here carrying some infantry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another moved marker. He's a 3. So 1. Then into the town, I think, is the cost of town. 1. That's good. So that's 2, 3. That's good. Okay. Then we're going to send these guys south. 1, 2, 3, 4. Moved on them. And this Trojan with its infantry, they will go on the road. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our ethereal cannon. Well, we want to get this mortar up, or this Wraithbane. So that's just going to go, well, it can't go there. It'll go here because it can't get up there. It's only got to move. Well, actually it can because of the minimum move rule. It can go there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, nope, that's uphill. So it'll stop there. Moved. Moved. We're going to send this one this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop there. And put a moved on there. Okay. That is the end of turn 2. And the end of the video. I might continue this, perhaps, only because I think there's some more action that'll be coming up here real soon. But for now, we're going to sign off here. So this is longer than I typically go on a video. But I wanted to give you at least a flavor of how this game works. And like I said, I may do a second video and use the walkers, which are in the second scenario. Those are pretty cool. They've got big counters. Here, let me show you one of them. This is the Devastator, right? So if you compare that to, say, a normal counter size, you can see it's larger. And it only has a rack on the other side. But you have to do 4 hits to it. And it's got multiple weapons and things that can fire. So it's kind of badass. And we will check that out if I elect to do another scenario. But for now, we're going to sign off. Thank you for watching. Shout out to my channel members at the hexed and the countered levels. Thank you guys for your support. If you're interested in joining the ranks, signing on, just click the join button and you'll see a video talking about what is involved. We're done. Questions, comments, put them in the comment section. I'll do my best to get back to you on that. While you're here, if you'd consider liking, sharing, hyping, and maybe even subscribing to the channel. The more subscribers, the merrier, is what I say. And to my subscribers, thank you for your support. But we are done here for now. I'm Joe. This is Hexed and Countered. And as always, until next time, happy gaming.